If you've ever sat quietly and asked yourself, why does my child seem so cold toward me? You're not alone. Many older parents feel ignored or even disrespected by their adult children. I've met so many people like you in my work. And I want you to know, there are reasons this happens, and more importantly, there are ways to gently shift it. You don't have to live with silent pain. Let's talk about it, calmly, clearly, and with hope. Let me start with something I see often. Many older parents quietly hope their children will show gratitude, but they never say it out loud. And when that thanks doesn't come, it feels like a silent wound. That quiet ache builds over time, and the more it's ignored, the deeper it goes. The truth is, your child might not even realize how much it would mean to you. Not because they don't care, but because they've grown up in a world that moves fast and speaks less. Unspoken needs can create invisible walls, and sometimes just naming what we feel can gently start to take those walls down. I once worked with a lovely woman named Ellen, 74, from Sacramento. She raised 2 boys on her own and gave them everything she could. Now grown, her sons rarely called, and when they did, the conversations felt rushed. She never asked for anything. She believed mothers were supposed to be strong and quiet. But during one visit, she looked at her eldest and softly said, "You know, sometimes I wonder if you even remember all those nights I stayed up when you were sick. I don't need much, but hearing that you appreciate it would mean a lot." Her son was stunned. He hugged her. The conversation shifted. A week later, he wrote her a letter. She brought it to my office and cried as she read it aloud. All it took was one honest moment. No blame, no guilt, just truth. What often helps in these situations is saying your need in a calm, open way. Not with anger, not to make someone feel bad, but simply to express that being seen matters to you. Try something like, "It would really warm my heart to hear you recognize what I've done." You're not demanding. You're just being human. You deserve to be appreciated, not just for what you gave, but for who you are. Sometimes our children just need a gentle nudge to remember. Even a small, heartfelt word from you can open a door to something warmer. The next thing I often notice is how many older parents accidentally come across as controlling, even when they don't mean to. It's not always in what you say. Sometimes it's just a sigh, a pause, a look. Your children might feel judged or pressured, even if you're only trying to help. They might think you don't trust their choices, and over time that can create distance. The hard part is your concern is real, but if it's not expressed in the right way, it can push them away instead of bringing them closer. I remember George, 69, from Austin, a proud dad, kind-hearted, always wanted what's best for his daughter. But she stopped calling as often, and when she did, she seemed tense. He'd say things like, "You're still renting? I thought by now I'd know, or why didn't you do it the way I said?" One day during a visit, she got quiet and then said, "Dad, I know you love me, but every time we talk, I feel like I disappoint you." That hit him hard. After we talked, he tried a new approach, asking more questions instead of giving answers. "What do you think you'll do next?" Or, "How are you feeling about that?" Slowly, her calls became longer, then more frequent. What changed wasn't her. It was how safe she felt with him again. One of the simplest things you can do is shift from advice to listening. Instead of saying, "You should," try, "Tell me more about that," or "What are you thinking?" This lets them breathe. It tells them, "I trust you," and that trust often brings them back to you. You don't have to fix their life. Just walk beside them. Like a quiet path in the woods, your presence is enough. Let go of guiding every step, and you might find they'll start reaching for your hand again all on their own. Another thing I often see is how loneliness sometimes turns into pressure, and that pressure quietly pushes children away. When you say things like, "You're all I have," or "I sit here alone every day," it might be the truth, but it also places a heavy weight on their shoulders. Even if you don't mean to, it can make them feel guilty, overwhelmed, or even afraid to visit. It's a deep emotional burden, and instead of drawing them closer, it can cause them to step back just to breathe. I'll never forget Martha, 76, from Long Island. She had one son, very kind, but he visited less and less. Every time he called, she'd say things like, "I'm just here by myself again," or "I guess you're too busy for your old mum." At first, he tried harder. Then he started calling less. He told me it was just too heavy, too sad. We talked about shifting focus. Martha joined a book club at her church. She met other women her age, started baking again, even volunteered once a week. Her son noticed the change in her tone. Their calls became lighter, warmer. He visited more often, not out of guilt, but because he wanted to. What often helps is building your own sources of joy. Find something small, a walking group, a community class, even a garden. Let your life have light that doesn't depend on them. When they see you happy, they're more likely to want to share in that happiness with you. You're not meant to wait in silence. Your life still matters. The sun still rises for you, and even a tiny new habit can make your world feel full again. That fullness is the most beautiful invitation you can give your child to come closer. There's something else that creates distance between parents and their adult children, and it's when we pretend we never made mistakes. I understand the instinct. You did the best you could with what you had, and you don't want to feel blamed. But when a child brings up a painful memory and we say, "That's not true," or "I did everything right," it shuts the door. They stop trying to talk. They feel unseen. And that hurt can turn into coldness even years later. Henry, 72, from Denver, came to me after a tough phone call with his daughter. She told him, "You were always angry when I was little. I was scared a lot." And he replied, "That's not how it was. I worked hard, I wasn't angry." She went quiet and the call ended early. Henry asked me, should I have defended myself? I said, maybe just listen next time. So he called her again and said, "I'm sorry if I hurt you. I didn't see it that way back then, but I hear you now." She cried, then she talked more. That one moment opened the door to healing. One of the kindest things you can do is say, "I might not have done everything perfectly, but I always loved you." You don't have to carry shame. You just have to be willing to hear. That small shift can make your child feel safe enough to come closer. You're not less of a parent because you admit you weren't perfect. You're more. You're brave. You're human. And when you open your heart even just a little, it's amazing how quickly someone might walk back in. If any of this touched your heart, know that you're not alone. Every parent makes mistakes. Every relationship can heal. And it's never too late to feel seen again. I'd love to hear from you. What part spoke to you most? Leave a comment, share your thoughts, or just let others know they're not the only ones feeling this way. Don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell. We're building a space of kindness here. You're still growing, still worthy, and deeply valued.